Good morning, officer. Is there something I can help you with? I'm conducting a building inspection here.
Sir, I received a report about possible industrial espionage. Here's my architect license and building permit from Meridian Development Company.
Cameron Mitchell, licensed architect. Who hired you for this inspection work?
An architect was questioned by police for taking photos of his own project. When the security guard reported him, the documents in his hands meant nothing. But the body cam footage would change everything. The police camera was recording at that moment. The footage would later be used as evidence in court. And this 47-minute encounter would cost a company millions of dollars in damages. The story you're about to hear is real. Names and some details have been changed, but the events are based on documented records. And most importantly, this story continues to happen every day, everywhere. The question is, if you were doing your job in your own field of expertise with all your documents in hand and you were still treated like a criminal, what would you do? Before we continue, if you care about stories like this, if you want to raise awareness about justice and accountability, subscribe. This channel exists to tell stories that go unheard. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if this video makes you feel something, don't forget to hit that like button. Now, let's get back to Cameron Mitchell's story. Cameron Mitchell was 34 years old, a licensed architect. Born in Chicago, graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in architecture. He started his career as an intern at a large firm. Within 10 years, he opened his own office. Mitchell Architecture and AMP Design, a small but respected firm. Commercial buildings, residential projects, restoration work. Cameron was a quiet man. He didn't like the spotlight. He did his work. Clients chose him for his reliability. He never cut corners on any project. He checked every detail. He did every calculation 3 times. In his 15-year career, he had completed over 200 projects. No complaints, no lawsuits, no problems. Among his colleagues, he was known as detail-oriented Cameron. It was a compliment. Meridian Development Company had hired him 6 months ago. They were building a large commercial complex on the east side of the city. For buildings, common areas, underground parking. A big project. Cameron's job was to conduct structural compliance inspections before each construction phase. This was a standard procedure. The architect inspects the construction site, takes photographs, makes measurements, writes a report. The construction company either proceeds or makes corrections based on this report. A legal requirement. Critical for safety. Cameron had woken up early that morning, had his breakfast, packed his bag. What was in it? Laptop, tablet, measuring tools, camera, license certificate, authorization letter from Meridian, copies of project plans. Everything was in place. He arrived at the construction site at 11:30, showed his ID at the security entrance, signed his name in the log book, put on a hard hat and reflective vest. Standard procedure. Everything was normal until Jessica Torres entered the scene. Jessica Torres was 28 years old. She was the site security coordinator for Meridian Development. She had just started the job only 3 months ago. Her previous job was on the security team of a shopping mall. The construction industry was foreign to her. Jessica's training was this: when you see something suspicious, report it. Don't ask questions, report it. If someone is taking photos, report it. If there's someone you don't recognize, report it. This logic worked in shopping malls. On a construction site, the situation was different. That day, when Jessica stepped out of the security booth, she saw Cameron, a black man, camera in hand, taking photos of the buildings. Equipment in his bag, taking notes. Jessica didn't recognize him. Yes, Cameron had signed the log book that morning. Yes, he had shown his ID at the entrance. But Jessica didn't check those records. She didn't even think to check. What she saw was this: a man she didn't recognize taking photos of the company's buildings. The first thing that came to her mind: corporate espionage. Jessica immediately reached for her phone. She didn't call 911. First, she called her supervisor. The supervisor wasn't available. Then she called the regional manager. He was in a meeting too. Jessica made a decision. She would call the police. There's a suspicious man at our construction site. He's taking photos of our buildings. It might be corporate espionage. The dispatcher on the other end asked, "Is the man posing a threat?" Jessica paused. "I don't know, but he's taking photos. Our designs are confidential." The police were called. Officer Daniel Roberts was 42 years old, an experienced officer with 18 years on the force. A calm man. He didn't panic. He assessed situations. When a call came in, Roberts was a few blocks away. Suspicious individual at construction site, possible corporate espionage call. Roberts thought this was probably a misunderstanding. These kinds of calls usually ended that way. But he still had to go. That was the procedure. When Roberts arrived at the construction site, he turned on his body cam. It was 11:47, a sunny day. The sound of construction machinery, workers shouting, the hum of a concrete mixer. Roberts found Jessica at the entrance. Jessica was excited, flustered. "Officer, the man is over there. He's taking photos of our buildings. We don't know who he is." Roberts nodded. "Show me." Jessica walked toward where Cameron was. Roberts followed her. The body cam was recording everything. Cameron was inspecting the foundation structure of Block B when he heard a voice behind him. "Sir, one moment." Cameron turned around. A police officer and a woman in a security vest beside him. Cameron's hand automatically went to his chest, to his ID card, as he always did. "Hello, officer. Can I help you?" Roberts approached Cameron. Body cam recording. Roberts' voice was calm but official. "What are you doing here?" Cameron answered, "I'm conducting a structural compliance inspection. I'm an architect." Roberts tilted his head. "An architect?" "Yes, a licensed architect. Here are my documents." Cameron pulled his folder from his bag. Architect's license, authorization letter from Meridian, project plans, ID. He handed everything to Roberts. Roberts took the documents, examined them. Cameron Mitchell, licensed architect. The document was valid. The authorization letter was signed by Meridian Development. Everything was in order. Cameron Mitchell, licensed architect. Roberts said as he read the documents, "Who hired you for this inspection work?" Cameron answered patiently, "Meridian Development hired my firm. We're doing structural compliance checks before the next phase of construction. Standard procedure." That's when Jessica stepped in. "Officer, I'm site security. Someone was taking photos of our building designs. This man photographed everything." Cameron turned to Jessica. His voice was still calm, but there was tension now. "I photographed structural elements for safety certification. This is standard architectural procedure." Jessica didn't look convinced. "I don't recognize him. We don't know if he's in the records." Cameron took a deep breath. "I registered at the entrance this morning. My signature is in the security booth." I showed my ID. Roberts turned to Jessica. "Did you check the records?" Jessica paused. No. I saw him taking photos and you called the police?" "Yes, because our designs are confidential and..." Roberts didn't interrupt Jessica, but the expression on his face changed. He was starting to understand the situation, but it didn't end there. Jessica's supervisor, David Chun, arrived at the scene at that moment. Chun was responsible for all security operations on the site, the person Jessica couldn't reach by phone. Chun hurried when he saw the police. "What's going on here?" Jessica immediately started explaining. "This man was taking photos of our buildings, so I called the police." Chun looked at Cameron, then at the documents in Roberts' hand, then back at Cameron. "Who is this man?" Roberts answered, "Cameron Mitchell, licensed architect, says he's doing structural inspections for Meridian." Chen's face changed, but not in the way you'd expect. "For Meridian? How do we know that? These documents could be fake." Cameron's patience was starting to wear thin, but he controlled himself. "You can verify the authenticity of the documents. Call Meridian, call my firm, call the architecture board." Chen wasn't even listening to Cameron. He turned to Roberts. "Officer, can you keep this man here? I'm going to make some phone calls." Roberts hesitated. The documents in his hand were valid. The man was cooperative. No crime had been committed. "Sir, this person's documents appear to be valid. I have no reason to detain him." Chun insisted, "But what if the documents are fake? What if this man is from a competitor? Our designs are worth millions of dollars." Cameron couldn't take it anymore. "Look, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've never been subjected to treatment like this. My documents are valid. I have authorization. If you want to call Meridian and verify, go ahead. But you can't hold me here like a criminal." Chin gave Cameron a hard look. "Don't raise your voice." "I'm not raising my voice. I just know my rights." Roberts stepped in. "Gentlemen, let's stay calm." "Sir." He turned to Cameron. "Can you wait a few more minutes? Let's clarify the situation." Cameron nodded. "I'll wait, but this situation is unacceptable." And he waited. 47 minutes. Chin made phone calls. He called Meridian's headquarters. It was Friday afternoon. Many people were at lunch. He couldn't reach anyone. He called the architecture board. Voicemail system. He was put on hold. He called Cameron's firm. The secretary answered. Yes, Cameron Mitchell was the firm's owner. Yes, they had the Meridian project. Yes, there was a site inspection scheduled for today. Chin hung up the phone, but he didn't apologize. He just shrugged. We were following our procedures. Cameron had waited for 47 minutes in the middle of a construction site under the sun, watched by police and security guards. For 47 minutes, he had been treated like a criminal. For 47 minutes, his dignity had been trampled. And the only response he got was, "We were following our procedures." Roberts, body cam still recording, turned to Cameron. "Sir, you're free to go. I apologize for the inconvenience." Cameron looked at Roberts. There was genuine regret on Roberts' face. But it wasn't enough. "Officer, you did your job. But these two people..." He looked at Jessica and Chun. "They weren't just doing their jobs. They made a decision about me. Without looking at my documents, my ID, my professionalism, they made a decision. And there's only one reason for that decision." No one spoke. Everyone understood what he meant. Cameron packed his bag, took his equipment, and left the construction site. But the story didn't end there. In fact, it was just beginning. When Cameron got home, he called his wife Denise. He told her everything that happened. Denise was a lawyer. She specialized in civil rights. And when she heard what had happened to her husband, she knew what to do. "Is there body cam footage?" The police officer was recording everything he was wearing. "We're getting that footage." The following week, Cameron's lawyers requested the body cam footage from the police department. The footage was 52 minutes long. It showed everything, from Jessica calling the police, to Chun saying the documents could be fake, to Cameron being held for 47 minutes. And there was something else in the footage. Before calling the police, Jessica hadn't checked the log book in the security booth. The book that Cameron had signed that morning. The book that proved he had shown his ID. Jessica had just seen Cameron and called the police. Without any verification. The lawsuit was filed 2 months later. Cameron Mitchell versus Meridian Development Company. The charges: wrongful detention, discrimination, damage to reputation, emotional distress. Meridian's lawyers mounted a defense. "We were following security procedures. Suspicious activity was reported. We called the police. There's nothing wrong with that." Cameron's lawyers showed the body cam footage. Jessica calling the police without checking the records. Chun saying they could be fake even after seeing the documents. The 47-minute wait. "This isn't procedure," they said. "This is profiling. This is discrimination. This is a black man being treated like a criminal even when he has all his documents." The court process lasted 14 months. Witnesses were heard. Experts spoke. The body cam footage was watched repeatedly. And finally, the jury reached its verdict. Meridian Development Company would pay Cameron Mitchell $3.2 million in damages, $1.2 million in compensatory damages, $2 million in punitive damages and deterrent penalty. The judge, announcing the decision, said this: "Mr. Mitchell went to that construction site to do his job. He had all the necessary documents. He had followed procedures. He was still treated like a criminal. For 47 minutes, he was made to wait under the sun, watched by police and security guards. And the only reason for this was that the security guard perceived him as a threat when she saw him, without looking at documents, without checking records, just deciding based on what she saw." The judge continued, "This decision is meant to send a message to companies. Train your employees, review your procedures, and don't judge people by their appearance instead of their documents. This is America in 2025. These behaviors are unacceptable." Jessica Torres resigned 2 months after the incident. David Chun was transferred to a different position within the company. Meridian Development launched mandatory discrimination awareness training for all security personnel. But for Cameron, the most important thing wasn't the money. After the verdict was announced, he held a press conference. His wife Denise was by his side. His lawyers were behind him. "This case was never about money for me," he said. "This was about dignity. This was about saying that a person shouldn't be treated like a criminal while doing their job." Cameron took a deep breath. "I was lucky. I had a wife who's a lawyer. I had resources. I had the strength to file a lawsuit. But what if I didn't? What if I had just gone home that day and done nothing? Then Jessica and Chun would have continued to think what they did was right. and they would have done the same thing to someone else. Reporters asked questions. Cameron answered all of them. What do you think about Officer Roberts? Officer Roberts did his job. He checked the documents. He assessed the situation. He apologized in the end. I have no complaint against him. The problem wasn't with the police. The problem was with people who didn't think for 2 seconds before calling the police. Would you work with Meridian again? Cameron laughed. It was a bitter laugh. No, never. How did this experience change you? Cameron paused for a moment. Thought. Now, every time I enter a construction site, I check my documents 3 times. I always keep my ID in a visible place. And I always know that at any moment, someone might look at me with suspicion. It's exhausting. It's unfair. But it's reality. The press conference ended. Cameron and Denise left the building with their lawyers. Outside, the sun was shining. It was a normal day. People were going to work. Cars were passing by. Life was going on. But for Cameron Mitchell, some things would never be the same again. $3.2 million was the price of a 47-minute wait, of having a reputation built over a career questioned, of having a person's dignity trampled. Was it enough? Even Cameron didn't know the answer to that question. But he knew one thing. The body cam footage had changed everything. Without that recording, this case could never have been won. Jessica would say, I saw suspicious behavior. Chin would say, we followed our procedures. And it would be Cameron's word against theirs. But the camera was recording, and the camera doesn't lie. This story shows why cameras matter. This story shows that documents aren't always enough. And this story shows that justice sometimes works slowly, but it does work. What is Cameron Mitchell doing now? He's still an architect, still taking on projects, still doing site inspections. But now he does something else too, mentoring young Black professionals, telling them about their rights, teaching them the importance of keeping documentation, showing them what to do if something happens to them. Don't stay silent, he says. Keep records. Write down dates, times, names. And never, ever let your dignity be trampled. What's the lesson from this story? Maybe this: the system isn't always fair. But the system can change. With one body cam recording, with one lawsuit, with one verdict. Change can be slow, but change is possible. And sometimes all it takes is one person who stands up for their rights. If this story made you feel something, hit that like button. If you think these kinds of stories need to be told, share it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Because these stories matter. These stories are real. And these stories will continue to be told. See you in the next video.